Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the IUPUI School of Science Neuroscience JagDay. We're excited to have you here to learn more about what it'll be like to study neuroscience at IUPUI. My name is Lori Hart, and I'm the Associate Director of Undergraduate Enrollment for the School of Science. My contact information is on your screen, and I want to encourage you to contact me with any questions you may have going forward about the School of Science, from visiting to applying to accepting your offer of admission. The School of Science is one of two Purdue University degree-granting schools here at IUPUI. Here you'll be studying in our four science buildings on our campus, including our brand new Innovation Hall, which boasts many new state-of-the-art science labs and classrooms, including a neuroscience classroom. We have 9 science academic programs: biology, chemistry, computer science, earth science, forensics, math, neuroscience, physics, and psychology. And our students are involved in over 500 campus organizations and over 30 science clubs and interest groups, such as the Neuroscience Club and Pre-Med Club, but you're encouraged to join any science organization no matter what your major. For example, if you enjoy hiking and caving, you might want to join the Earth Sciences Club. Or if you want to help plan a murder mystery dinner, then Forensics Club would be something up your alley. In Computer Science Club, you can help design and program a gaming cabinet, or help care for the plants in our greenhouse through Biology Club. There is truly something for everyone. And the School of Science is invested in your success, providing free tutoring from experienced tutors in select science courses in biology, chemistry, computer science, math, physics, and psychology to supplement your course content. Now, we understand that you have many options of where you can study science, but I want to share with you the advantages to studying science at IUPUI. First of all, we're a school of science as opposed to a school of arts and sciences, which allows us to focus all of our time and resources to our passion, science. Furthermore, our pre-professional and career advising office, called Science Preps, focuses only on science and has created relationships with the employers that hire and the graduate and professional schools that admit science students. They will provide you with the expert help you need in resume writing, internship and full-time employment searches, and professional school preparation and applications. Next, our location in downtown Indianapolis can't be beat. Living and learning in downtown Indy is fun. We have the Indianapolis Zoo, museums, the Indiana Repertory Theater, the Indianapolis Colts, the mall, and many great restaurants, all within walking distance of our campus. Nearby, we have many companies such as Eli Lilly and Salesforce, and city, county, and state agencies who hire our students for internships and provide job shadowing opportunities. We also have 5 hospitals that are on or adjacent to our campus, as are the IU schools of medicine, dentistry, and law, providing you access to amazing volunteer, shadowing, research, and internship opportunities. Third, you'll be immersed in a tight-knit science community. You can easily find us by our science t-shirts that we proudly wear around campus. Here you will find academically focused science students who enter IUPUI with GPAs and test scores above the all IUPUI average. You'll find your people here in study groups, student organizations, and in the many social opportunities available to you. This year, U.S. News and World Report named IUPUI number 49 in the nation for our commitment to undergraduate teaching. Our faculty is committed to undergraduate education. What that means for you is that the majority of your classes will be taught by full-time faculty, and you'll find our professors to be approachable and accessible with weekly office hours for students. And last, you'll find amazing opportunities within science to get involved in research as early as your freshman year. And you'll get to see the real-world contribution of your classroom knowledge. If you're interested in being involved in research, you'll just reach out to professors in science whose research interests you and ask them how you can get involved. Many of the opportunities are paid or can be completed for college credit. Now at IUPUI, you'll have endless options available to you. You get to choose the living situation that is best for you, on campus, a nearby apartment, or commuting from home. If you are an admitted student who is interested in living in one of our 4 residence halls, I encourage you to apply to housing as soon as possible to secure your spot. There are still spots available. Signing up for housing does not require you to live on campus, merely gives you the option to live on campus. You'll make the final decision when your housing contract and placement is emailed to you. Housing contracts will be sent out beginning on April 1st to your IUPUI email account. They'll be sent on Thursdays through June in the order that the applications were received. So if you have applied for housing, you'll want to start checking your IUPUI email account every Thursday to see if your contract has arrived, because once it has arrived, you only have until the following Monday to accept. Now, if you'd like to live with other science students who are taking the same classes as you, you can sign up to live on the STEM floor in North Hall. You'll find it under Residence-Based Learning Communities in your housing application. And if you've already applied for housing, you can go in and update that preference, and it will not affect your application date. To learn more about our housing option or the STEM floor, you can go to housing.iupui.edu. Now, I invite you to visit us and take a student-led tour of the School of Science and see where you'll be studying. We offer in-person tours every Thursday and Friday this spring. You can choose to just tour the School of Science, or you can pair it with an IUPUI campus tour. Now, it is on our admissions website and you can find that at science.iupui.edu/visit. If you don't see it there on a Thursday or Friday, it's only because we're full, and you can just look at additional Thursday or Fridays, or you can contact me and we can see what dates we can find that'll work for you. Now, we do have a JagDay like this for all 9 of our academic units. You can sign up for as many as you're interested in. We'll also post recordings of each JagDay on our Science Visit page and on our IUPUI Science YouTube channel. Information on science visits and JagDays can be found at that website on your screen, or you can email me at science@iupui.edu with any questions. Now, committed students can register for orientation beginning on March 29th. Now, it's important for science students to register early to get the best selection of times for your classes and labs. And you'll also want to follow us at IUPUI Science on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and learn more about our students and faculty, as well as the exciting opportunities available to you in science. Now, in a few minutes, we'll have neuroscience students Lucas and Caroline here to answer any questions you have, so stay tuned after our neuroscience department presentation to hear from them. I want to remind you that you can ask any questions that you have for me or for our faculty or student panels by clicking on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We want to answer your questions, so please ask the questions as you think of them during the presentations, and we'll answer at the end. Now, I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Terry Bilecki Adams, our Neuroscience Program Director, to speak to you more about the curriculum, resources, and research of the Neuroscience Department at IUPUI. Academic advisor Jared Trollinger is also here to answer any advising questions you may have about things like AP credit, dual credit, or orientation. Welcome, Terry. I'll turn off my screen and you can share yours.
Thank you very much, Lori, for that introduction. I really appreciate it. So what I'm going to do here, first of all, is to share my screen with you guys. The first thing I want to tell you is that I am the interim director of the neuroscience program, and I have been so for about 9 months now. If you need to get a hold of me, my email address is listed here. It will also be listed at the end of the program if you have specific questions that didn't occur to you while I was doing the presentation but came up later. Please feel free to email me and or the neuroscience advisor, Cindy Williams, who couldn't be with us today. But thankfully, Jared is here and he will be able to help me answer questions, specific questions about advising. And of course, we have Lucas and Carolyn that will be able to address your questions about being a student here in the neuroscience program at IUPUI. As I get started here, feel free to interrupt me at any point. If you put a question in the chat, sometimes I don't see them right away. But Jared and Lucas, if you happen to see the question before I do, please alert me that it's there. So feel free to interrupt, or you can ask your questions at the end. So the first question you might have about neuroscience is, what exactly is neuroscience? As we go along here, that question is basically answered by thinking about the two things that are unique about neuroscience, and that is the biology of the brain and behavior. Neuroscience is essentially the intersection between brain and behavior. And so if we think about some of the things that come from the brain, we think about the thoughts that we have on an everyday basis, our perceptions of the world, our motivation, emotions, actions. All these things are products of the nervous system. And so what makes neuroscience unique in many respects is this interdisciplinary nature, where you're talking about the behavioral aspects, the thoughts, perceptions, emotions, etc., and merging that together with understanding the structure and function of the nervous system. And so that is, in a nutshell, what makes neuroscience so unique is sort of the interdisciplinary nature of the studies themselves. Now, many of you have already thought about neuroscience, and you may have wondered to yourself, well, I sort of know what neuroscience is, but is that the way that I want to go? Is neuroscience for me? And so if you've ever had thoughts like, what exactly are the connections between neurons and all these behaviors that we have, all these thoughts that we have? If you've had that kind of thought, then indeed neuroscience might be for you. If you have had thoughts about what is the link between the structure and the function of the nervous system and memory, or the structure and function of the nervous system and diseases that have behavioral aspects to them, like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. If you've had that kind of thought, neuroscience might be for you. If you've had thoughts about what is the connection between the development of the nervous system and the development of various behaviors, neuroscience might be for you. If you've had thoughts about what does drug usage do to our brain, how does it affect our brains, how does it affect our behavior? If you've had that kind of thought, then in fact, neuroscience might be a good choice for you. So all of these things seem very disparate in nature. And again, this is because of the interdisciplinary nature of neuroscience. You have a very wide range of topics that fall under the title of neuroscience. So you can have somebody looking at diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and you can also have somebody looking at the behavioral aspects of neuronal connections. So lots of room here for people to grow into. When we talk about the neuroscience program, what you will be taking as a student, you will have to take 120 credits. And of those 120 credits, you'll have about 30 credits that are core general education types of classes. And then you begin to work your way into more specific types of requirements. So you'll have 21 credits for the School of Science requirements. So those might be things like physics, maybe introduction to biology, etc. And then you start to work your way into more classes that are characteristic of neuroscience classes. And so you have about 51 credits that are neuroscience major courses. This is where you get into some of the upper level types of classes that our neuroscience majors are really excited by. And then on top of that, you get about 18 credits of electives that in and of themselves are very unique to you. What kinds of classes do you want to focus your learning on? If you're more interested in behavioral aspects, you might be taking more psychology related classes. If you're more interested in entering medical school, then you might be taking more biology related classes, etc. And so there's lots of room, again, for you to decide what direction you want to go in. Okay, so of those 120 credits then, I mentioned that you have these upper level courses that are more characteristic of neuroscience related classes. And so these classes really are meant to ground you in cellular and molecular types of neuroscience, as well as computational and or behavioral neuroscience. And so again, we have a wide range here, and you get to decide what area you want to specialize in. But of these types of courses that you'll be taking biology, of course. You'll be taking a lot of psychology, and in fact, most of the faculty that are considered part of the neuroscience program are found in either the biology program or the psychology program, or both. And we have also physics. Chemistry is very important, biomedical engineering, computer science, and mathematical sciences. So those are the kinds of classes that you will be taking as a neuroscience major. Now, so you will also have the opportunity to take some courses that will allow you to interact with some of your classmates. And so one of those would be like a themed learning community. And so this is where in your first year, you get to take some classes together with a cohort of your neuroscience first year students. And you'll be together in a number of classes, and it becomes a funner learning experience when you have people that you know in those classes that you can share your experiences with. One of the other things that we make available, of course, is a first year seminar series. And so this is really fun because you get to look at some journal articles, learn how to tear them apart and study what's found in those journal articles. How do you determine whether it's something that's interesting to you? And many times you'll get an idea in the seminar series of maybe areas that you hadn't thought of before, where this avenue has opened up to you because you read a paper in the seminar series that sort of opened you to that experience, and you can talk to other students and other professors to find out, hey, can I do some actual research in that area? So, and Lucas and Caroline, of course, are going to talk about other experiences that are available outside of some of these classroom experiences as part of the neuroscience community at IUPUI. So I will leave that to them. So when we talk about the neuroscience program, many times we focus very heavily on the research end of it, and that is because one of the things that we can offer to our students is the ability to engage in and participate in research as part of your learning experience. And so we like to encourage our students to participate in research really as soon as you enter the program. The sooner the better. That doesn't mean that you have to decide a particular lab that you want to study in right away. You can pick and choose a number of labs and sort of dabble in a number of areas until you decide that you have found one that you really enjoy and you want to stick with. But when we're talking about the research experience, you have a wide array of laboratories to do your research experience. Let's see, we have a question here. Is calculus a requirement for a neuroscience degree, or is it more statistics type classes? So you'll find that, I'll let also Jared weigh in on this, but you do need to have some calculus. You will also have some statistics as well that is necessary. Jared, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that question as well.
So for the neuroscience program, most students would take Math 23100 and Math 23200. That's Calculus for Life Sciences 1 and 2. Students in the neuro program, most students take the psychology stats course with lab, but I believe there's also an option to take Stat 35000, which is a calculus influence statistics class. It's a higher level. Fewer students take that, but sometimes we have students who are minoring in math or really interested in computational neuroscience. And so they might go that route of the stats class that's more like calculus influenced. And then the other possibility is sometimes students have had like AP Calc and scored like a 4 or 5 on the BC exam, and that can come in. It comes in actually as Math 165 and 166. if a student was planning to minor in math, they might take that higher level calculus 1 and 2.
I think you'll find that for a lot of the classes, many of the students who are in the program are either pre-med or pre-vet or something like that, or pre-dental. And so they will be following a lot of the classes that are required to get into medical school. And that would include calculus and physics and some of the other things that go along with that. Okay. Thank you for the question, Jacob. That's appreciated. So we were talking about research, and so as part of the research, you have available to you a very wide array of laboratories on campus in which you potentially could do your research. So depending upon your interests, you might find laboratories in the School of Science most interesting. You might find laboratories in the Stark Neuroscience Institute more interesting. We also have the availability of the School of Medicine laboratories. And we have particular research programs that undergraduates are encouraged to make use of. And so a couple of those are the Life Health Sciences internships, as well as the Stark Institute summer research programs. So all of that is available to you. And so someone who maybe is more interested in looking to become a student in the medical program might be asking themselves, well, why would I want to do research? The answer to that is varied, but first of all, you actually get your hands-on experience in the laboratory this way. This gives you a better understanding of where biological research has come from, where you get the studies upon which medicine is based. And so it's a great idea for you to get that experience. You learn more about how labs work. You get to learn, again, how to read journal articles. You get to focus on areas that are important to you and your personal growth. You get to present some of your work. So many times there are multiple chances on the campus where people, undergraduates in specific, can go and present their work, and people show up and you get to walk them through your research and they get to ask you questions. It's a very fulfilling kind of experience. But beyond that, it also enhances your CV. If you do enough in the laboratory to actually contribute to the work, you might become a co-author on a publication, and that looks great on your CV. You might be able to write proposals that would go to offices in the university that would potentially fund those. That looks also great on your CV. That's the kind of experience that you want to have. Even if you're going to medical school, it really enhances your understanding of where information has come from in medical school. Or if you want to go into dental school, same thing. It enhances your learning experience, and it also enhances your CV in the process. So you might have wondered, well, what kinds of opportunities are there available on campus? And feel free to ask as many questions as you'd like here. So we have lots of learning opportunities. We have a large cohort of investigators who are interested in addiction sciences. And so they're interested in studying alcoholism, drug addiction, obesity, and how the nervous system plays into those types of diseases. We also have a very large cohort that studies neurodegenerative disorders. And so here you're going to get your focus on things like Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, other kinds of related dementias. There is also a large cohort that studies neurodevelopment. And so here you're going to get both preclinical as well as clinical studies involved in the developing nervous system and the role that it plays in behavior. We have, again, people who are studying neuroimaging. We have a question here from Jacob again. Is it possible to take part in summer research or other program offered by another IU or Purdue campus if we live near a closer campus? Do you mean and get credit from IUPUI? You definitely can you can definitely do other research. Whether it counts for credit or not probably depends upon the campus. Jared, do you know anything about that? Whether they would actually, you're wanting to know, Jacob, can you get credit for that? Is that correct? Jared, do you know anything about that?
That is going to probably depend campus to campus. In terms of earning credit from IUPUI for the experience, I don't know that you would be able to do that. And the reason is because there usually has to be an instructor of record in order to get research credit from IUPUI. Now, there may be some things I'm not aware of, because my colleague Cindy is often looking for opportunities for our neuroscience students to expand their possibilities in terms of research. But typically, in order to get credit, you would need to have a faculty member from IUPUI who is the instructor of record for you getting that credit. There may, though, be ways to get credit from that other campus and then transfer it back to IUPUI. So that's a long answer to a short response.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So I have done on occasion, been the instructor of record for people at the School of Medicine. Now that's not another campus per se, like you're suggesting, but there definitely are ways of getting connected with people at IUPUI so that they can become the instructor of record. So a lot of times people will know another faculty member and they'll be able to contact them, or they'll know somebody at the School of Science and say, hey, can you suggest somebody so that that can happen? What are some of the other questions, Lori? I'm not seeing those.
So Camille asked under the Q&A, she said, is there a neuro minor? And is it possible to have a biology chemistry major, maybe a dual major and have a minor? Or if I want to double major, will I only take those classes?
Yeah, so and Jared can weigh on in this too, but there definitely are minors in neuroscience. There's also double majors that you might want to consider. So if you're interested in biology and neuroscience, there's a ton of people that do double majors in bio and neuroscience, or neuroscience and chemistry is another popular one. So that definitely can be done. And there's definitely minors as well. So yeah, I would say that that's a definite possibility.
So what I will say about the neuro minor is that if you are interested in doing that, if you're a chem or a bio major, you're probably on a good track to get a lot of the prerequisite courses. If anyone here is considering a neuro versus psych major, if you're majoring in psychology, you would want to make sure that you understand those prereqs for the neuro minor right away, because it really is a 5 to 6 semester sequence in terms of the chemistry and biology to get to cellular and molecular neuroscience. So I work my primary function is as a psychology major, and I have a few students who are neuroscience minors, but those who have needed to know that early on, like basically by the sophomore year. Otherwise, it's going to take longer to get that neuroscience minor completed.
Right, and Terry Angel asked, due to COVID, how will the labs be organized in the future?
So right now, we've gone through some restructuring of the labs while we have to have that social distancing and the mask mandate in place. And so right now, what we do in my lab and is being done in many other labs across the campus is that we schedule people so that there's only a certain number of people in the lab at a given period of time so that you can socially distance. And if you're getting instruction from somebody, as you might if you're an undergrad researcher, and you need to be close to, say, a graduate student who's showing you how to do something, then we have a particular kind of mask and called an N1 mask that you would wear that gives you more protection so that you can get the instruction you need and then go off and socially distance from the person and do your experiment. So there, we have ways of doing that. And as we move along here and people begin to become vaccinated and are more protected, then hopefully what will happen is the CDC will come out with more rules that will say, okay, we're still going to socially distance, but now maybe instead of 6 feet, you can be 3 feet from one another and be safe. Or you can wear a mask and be safe. So we listen to the CDC when they come out with their rules, and we put those into place in the lab. Hopefully that answers your question. Were there any other questions in the chat that I didn't see?
No, that's everything so far.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about research, and you can see there's lots of opportunities for you guys here. And so here are some of the other options that you guys have already asked about. So we have people in the neuroscience program that are doing double and triple majors even, depending upon their interests. And so a lot of those will involve chemistry, biology, psychology, mathematics, and computer science. We've started working on combined degree programs. So right now we have the first one that has passed that we have put in place that is a 4+1 combined degree in which you would get a bachelor's in neuroscience and then a master's in biomedical engineering. And all of that would take place in 5 years. And so we're going to be putting more and more of those in place as we move along and we start to get interconnected. So, keep an eye on that if you come, because you may want to join one of those 4+1 programs, or sometimes it's a double major. So for instance, one of the things that we're thinking very heavily about is maybe a double major with artificial intelligence, which is a sort of a new degree on campus, and that would fit naturally with neuroscience.
A little bit more about that AI and neuroscience, because someone in the chat asked about computer science and neuroscience.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up on the last part there.
So the question, Terry, is what is the computer science aspect of neuroscience?
So in many ways, there's a lot of connections between trying to understand how we think and how computers put things together to sort of make a more natural kind of learning experience. In other words, learning computers that you might get in computer science. And so that's the sort of aspect that you're getting there, are sort of the learning computers, the computers that can actually interact and learn from experiences. So that's one thing that's important there. I see we have a question here. If Governor Holcomb were to lift the mask mandate, do you still think they would keep the rules in the lab, or does it more so depend on CDC rules, or would that be up to the individual professors and labs? Well, that's a tough question. I tend to go more with the CDC because, of course, they know a lot more about viruses and the way that they act. And so I would tend to go with the CDC. It might be up to individual professors, though, in terms of how they put that into play in their lab. One of the aspects I think that things people frequently think about when they're thinking about the neuroscience program is, what exactly can the neuroscience degree do for me? Like, in other words, if I graduate with a neuroscience degree, what can I do? And so the answer to this is twofold. One is that if you're interested in looking for a job right away, then the kinds of jobs that you're going to be able to get if you have a neuroscience degree would be, for instance, as a research technician. And those research technicians are employed in a number of different places, such as at the universities, at pharmaceutical companies like Eli Lilly, at biotech companies, hospitals and medical centers, government agencies, and even private research foundations. So you have some options there. And of course, the other thing to think about is using the neuroscience as preparation for advanced studies. And so here, again, you have a number of routes that you can take. If you're interested in the science aspect of it and you want to go on and become a PhD and you want to actually do research in your own field, then you want to consider graduate studies, and we can help you prepare for those. However, we also get our fair number of students who are interested in advanced studies in professional programs like medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, veterinary medicine, law, public health, biomedical engineering, and so many more that I haven't listed here. So here I've left it open if you have further questions. Here you have my email at the top here, tbadams@iupui.edu, and the neuroscience advisor, Cynthia Williams, and her email is cyclark@iupui.edu. And we'd be happy to take your questions now or in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Terry. I appreciate you being here. And Jared, thank you very much. We're going to move on to the student panel. So if Caroline and Lucas, if you could show your screen. We're just going to start out, Caroline and Lucas, if you could just share a little bit about yourself, your IUPUI experience, and what your educational pursuits are.
Yeah, so I am a senior. I'm doing neuroscience, biology, and sociology, which is something I just recently added. So it is possible to triple major. It is possible to double major. I want to be a physician scientist in the future. So combining that medical research, biomedical research, some social research, and then kind of medical practice is kind of my future.
And I'm Caroline, so I'm just a neuroscience major, plain and simple. I'm also on a pre-med track, so I am scheduled to take my MCAT here in a few months. Can't wait for that. So I'm a junior. I've been at IUPUI all 3 years I've been in college. I really like our neuroscience program. It's great. I have a lot of experience going on, just experience with research that's on campus mostly. Thank you for the good luck on my MCAT. Thank you so much.
All right, well, let's start out about research, because we do definitely we offer that here at IUPUI, and it's something we're really proud of. And I know you both have some research experience. So if you both could just share, how you got involved and what you're doing, and what you would recommend for students who want to get involved.
So I have 2 research opportunities I'm involved in right now. So one of them is just actually with one of the neuroscience professors on campus. He has a lab. It's a drugs and behavior lab. So we test, the effects of alcohol and THC on mice. And honestly, for getting involved in that, I heard him talking about it one day in class, and I was like, hey, Dr. Bohm, can I come volunteer in your lab? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I guess some of my advice would just be to definitely reach out. If you're interested, your professors are going to be so excited that you're interested, and they're going to want to help you get more involved. So never be scared to talk and ask, and just, shoot them an email and be like, hey, do you have any room, in your lab for a student to help out? He was really, really helpful with me for all that process. And then my second one, I'm part of LHSI, which is a IUPUI program. It's called Life Health Internships, and it's just a network of paid internships that students at IUPUI can apply for. And then basically IUPUI just connects us with various sites. It's usually a lot of research sites. So I work at the Indiana Alzheimer's Disease Center, and there we just do, neuropsych tests on Alzheimer's patients, which is something I'm really interested in. So I like to learn about that.
Yeah, as a freshman, one of my professors told me, hey, go talk to this professor. They knew that I liked this topic, and I got started in his lab, and I was doing molecular biology work. I was trying to make a DNA model for zebrafish of a cardiac arrhythmia. And so I started with that, and then I kind of moved into more looking at the actual protein that we talk about in that lab, and seeing how changes in it affect the disease and cause the disease. But then I've also done sociology projects now, which is kind of the capstone in sociology, that is kind of looking at racial bias in pre-health professional students. And so not even just trying to find projects in the School of Science, but you can also try and find projects outside of the School of Science and do things like that. And it's still kind of science related and social science like that.
And I did want to just talk a little bit about why you chose IUPUI. Like when you were making that decision to come here, what kind of won you over, and what is something that really has surprised you about IUPUI that you didn't expect?
Opportunities.
Yeah.
100% opportunities. So when I kind of looked at IUPUI, it was big enough to have the opportunities, but not too big enough that you get lost in the shuffle. Your professors actually care. I've had Dr. Balecki Adams, like as a professor, I've known her as my advisor for the Neuroscience Club, so we don't get lost in the shuffle with that.
Yeah, and I mean, for me personally, like as a pre-med, I feel like you can't really be downtown without seeing a hospital every, couple of blocks. So it's really nice just to be kind of surrounded by opportunities that you're able to, like, I can go shadow a doctor in between classes. I have so much access to different like research opportunities that I can get to really closely just because everything is so close to campus. And also, like, on top of that, like IU Med is one of the top medical schools in the country, and it's like right down the street. That is just incredible to me. Like, I get to go down there and I can, kind of meet with other students, see how they're doing, ask some questions. I mean, there's so many like seminars and workshops that we have access to because of it. It's just really great to be so close to downtown and all of the hospitals from a medical point of view.
And Precious has asked a really good question. She wants to understand better what your class lectures are like. So if we could maybe talk about from, your freshman year to your junior and senior year, what those look like and how they've changed.
I can go ahead and go first, I guess. I remember my freshman year, I had my first biology class with Dr. Mars, and Dr. Mars was just the most understanding, pleasant professor. She was so nice because, I was so overwhelmed. It was my first kind of college course I'd taken. And it was hard for me. It was really hard. Looking back, I'm like, man, how did I ever stress about that? But I think that, each year you take a class, it just kind of delves deeper, and you definitely kind of the way the lectures are set up is really, really helpful because I feel like it makes me kind of reevaluate my own study skills. So I'm just able to kind of do better based on how my teachers teach, which is usually just with PowerPoints, examples, and like they lecture really well because a lot of our professors don't just read straight off PowerPoints, which I think is so helpful. But yeah, I definitely like the style that IUPUI has for classes.
Yeah, so what Caroline didn't mention is it's like 300 people in this room during a non-COVID semester, which we both took this class during that time. But, one of the things that you can do is, like, if you want it to seem small, is you sit in the front and you can talk to Dr. Mars. I think Caroline and I both did that. You can talk to your professors. That's what makes it really great, kind of an experience. Moving on, classes kind of just get smaller and smaller after that.
So Lucas, I know you're a senior now. How many students would you say are in your senior level classes? Your 300, 400 level?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I take all my classes online right now. But I will say, some of my classes, they want us to be, talking to each other. I would say probably between 70 maybe or so, 70 to 80. In some of those, but it's online. You can just email the professor whenever. They'll respond, within a day or two. And but they kind of want you to connect with other students in the course. And so sometimes the assignments or activities will reflect that. You'll have, hey, we're gonna do breakout rooms. So we actually do that. They kind of force us to make it because they make the quiz question like, hey, tell me something that you learned about a classmate. And it kind of forces that interaction. And you kind of get to learn things about other people. I met somebody in one of my old classes that was wanting to do the exact same thing as me. So that was interesting.
And what you'll find out too is, it is a little bit different this year due to COVID, but we are planning on being back on campus in the fall for in-person classes. So we're all excited about that. And you will find your class sizes are going to be much smaller, especially when you get into your upper level classes. I mean, we've got, some classes that are in the teens. So you will get that one-on-one interaction with your professors and, that really good bonding with your classmates for study groups or, even just in a social way. Now, we do have a question from Christine, and she said, I'm coming to IUPUI from Columbus to finish my neuroscience degree. I have only 3 semesters of classes to finish. I know how important experience is for a resume. Am I at a disadvantage due to lack of time to gain those experiences before graduation? And you know what, I'm going to say something first about that. So Christine, is, there are lots of opportunities. About a third of our students overall in science get involved in research. If you come in as a junior or senior and you want to get involved in research, juniors and seniors, sometimes, that is when they start. Some people start as early as their freshman year, but, whenever you get here, definitely just reach out. You're already going to be an advantage because you're going to have a lot of those intro classes that maybe a professor will have liked you to have taken before working in their lab. So if you are interested, just talk to them and find out what's going on. We have those other programs like the Life Health Science internship that is for sophomores and juniors. So depending on your credits, you may be able to apply for that. Through our preps office, we have healthcare shadowing classes. There's just so many different opportunities that if you look, you'll find them, and you really won't be at a disadvantage because they are there. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about the Science Preps Office, because I know you both have, some graduate school or professional school plans. Can you talk about how you've utilized them and how they've helped you? Caroline, if you want to start, then Lucas.
Yeah, Preps is really great. It's just so useful to have, it's nice because it's just organized. It's like I can find all the information and help I need in one spot. Like I don't have to waste all my time trying to do all this research or talking to 20 different people. I can just go to the preps office, schedule an appointment, and get the answers I need. For me personally, like writing a personal statement, like for medical school, getting a resume together, a CV together, they really helped me out with that stuff. It's really hard. Like I was always trying to Google templates. It wasn't working out for me. So when I was able to go and actually talk face to face with my advisors, it was really a lot more useful for me. Sorry, Jacob, a CV is just it's like a resume, except it's like you have everything you've ever done ever on there. Whereas resumes are usually like 1 page, I think. And you can apply to med school with either, it turns out, which is great. And so they also advise me on that, like which one's better. When should I take my MCAT? When do the dates, come out? Like when should I sign up? How much is it going to cost? What kind of studying tools do I need? Like what's going to work the best for me with the budget I have? And just a lot of stuff like that. Additionally, Preps also kind of connects you with opportunities too. Like they have different scholarships for people who need help paying for their MCAT, people who need help paying for the books that you need to study for it. And I'm sure that goes to all sorts of other things. Like I think they do like LSAT prep. I think they do stuff with PA school, stuff like that.
I will say I am a first generation student. So I do know, I have nobody in my family that I can just go ask these questions to. How do I get into medical school? They'd be like, I don't know. So that's kind of the upper hand that we have on our campus, because they'll truly, direct you with everything that you need to do. They'll also do interviewing. If you just need somebody to sit down and actually talk through how to interview, they'll give you pointers. They give us timelines as to what we should be doing when, and just general advice. And it's really the best thing ever.
Right. And the Preps office does have a pre-professional and graduate school advisor on their staff. So if it is something you think you want to do, we would recommend you go in there, your freshman year, first semester, and speak with her and just let her know, I'm interested in pre-med, I'm interested in pre-PA or pre-vet, whatever you're interested in. And she will help you sit down and make a timeline and figure out what experiences you need, because getting into these schools is a lot more than just your grades. Grades are super important, but there's a lot of people with good grades. So she will help you find those experiences and those internships that are really going to make your application to those schools shine, and so that you do get in. Matter of fact, for students who are applying to medical school, it's really hard. It's really competitive out there. Only about 41% of students nationally get in. but students who have worked through our preps office have a 57% admission rate. So, they really, really do help if you do take advantage of that and take advantage of that early. Now, we had a question earlier from Angel that I think we kind of talked about a little bit, but I think we can go a little more in depth on to answer. She said, can you give a breakdown of a daily routine in your classes, and what projects do neuroscience majors participate in outside of the classroom? So more or less, what does a neuroscience or psychology, a chemistry, a biology class, what do those look like for you?
So I am the president of the Neuroscience Club. So I run a lot of the activities that are kind of just fun. Today, like this week is Brain Awareness Week. And so we have about 10 activities just planned this week. That's so that we have done. We did neuroscience trivia earlier today. We talked about jobs, like neuroscience jobs. Yesterday, how COVID affects the brain and mental health yesterday as well. And we got more events like that. So it can look not just like doing those activities, having fun. There is studying that goes in, but the thing about that I've kind of learned, no day is kind of like the same. Or at least to me is no day is the same. It's always trying to do just a little bit different and get everything done that you can get done, I guess. I'll let Caroline answer this probably better.
No, I agree with you. Like, yeah, the Neuroscience Club is so much fun. They do a bunch of stuff. I would say, like, for classes more specifically, you would go to a class, your professor might give you like some announcement like, hey, exam 2 is on Tuesday or something like that. And then you'd go over the material for that day. I think a lot of teachers just go chapter by chapter. And then, classes normally have 3 or 4 exams. Some of the neuroscience classes have papers in there. I know, I'm sure, Lucas, you've read like the same books, but like whenever we have like a paper over like Still Alice or like just some of the books that have neuroscience applications are really fun to read. And I would say that. And I think the second or first neuroscience class has a lot of like article annotating, which I thought was really, really helpful. Because I'd never actually looked at a real like research article before, and it was really hard for me to read at first. But by the end of the class, I really understood how an abstract worked, methods, like the research kind of aspect of neuroscience, which I thought was really beneficial. And most classes are set up that way. You'll have 3 or 4 exams, you'll have some papers sprinkled in there. A lot of teachers give extra credit. So it's stuff like that makes it pretty nice.
And your freshman year, everybody will take a Windows on Science class, and it's a 1 credit class, and it's not a lot of work, but it's a really, really helpful class because they'll teach you, a lot about research papers, how to cite them, how to look them up. They'll teach you about the resources on campus. Our science preps office will come in there and they'll let you know, how you can access their resources and what they offer. I did put in the link to our science preps office, but that's something that once you're here, you will have that information. They are the career services for all of science. So even if you're looking to go directly into the workforce, they're going to be there for you as well with the resume help and with finding internships, finding full-time employment. They have 3 career fairs every year. So you're gonna find all that out your freshman year right away, so that you are prepared for it, so that you can be successful here. We really do try to set you up for success. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what advice do you have for freshmen who are coming in? Or what would something that we wish somebody would have told you, Caroline?
Mine's a little bit specific. I'm gonna give like some general but specific. I came in and I was majoring in neuroscience, and I took a calculus class, and it was calculus. It was like geometric calculus or something like that, because I needed a calculus requirement. Neuroscience majors are supposed to take life sciences calculus. I didn't realize this until it was too late, and the calculus class was like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was so hard. And then the second like life sciences one was really easy. So just make sure you meet with your advisor and you go over what you're taking like 3 times before you commit to it, because man, that calculus class was so hard. I was like, dang it, I didn't even have to take this. Yeah, so just definitely double check your schedule. But on top of that too, I would always just say like, don't be scared to ask. Like, the worst that someone will say to you is no. You know what I mean? So definitely, if you want to ask your professor something, if you want to ask a classmate something, if you want to join a club, like just go and do it. Because, what is that one thing from The Office? It's like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take or something. Kind of corny, but I think it definitely applies here.
I would say more on that. Use your resources. That is your professors. It is your advisor, but it's also like the BEPCO Learning Center. It's the Physics Learning Center. It's the Math Assistance Center. It's like all of those. It's using the things that are within the Division of Student Affairs, anywhere else on campus that can kind of help you be successful.
Right. All the things that Lucas mentioned, those are free tutoring centers. So if you just have any questions, or even if you just want reassurance, take advantage of that, because that's what it's there for. And we wish more students would take advantage of it, but they have really liberal hours. So they're available to you on your schedule, and they're really easy to find here in the School of Science. Now, I do have a question from Precious. She wants to know, what are your study habits like? Because science students do have to study hard, but they definitely know how to have fun too. So what are they like, and how do you balance that with the other activities in your life?
I guess I can go first. Yeah, so I feel like in general, there's like 3 kinds of studiers. There's the people who really rely on the Kaltura videos, just like watching those over and over. They can get the information. People who look at the PowerPoints and just like really annotate those, and like people who maybe look really cool, like they worship Quizlet or something. They're really good with flashcards. I understand that too. I personally am a big PowerPoint girl. I like to print out my PowerPoints and write on it while the professor's giving the lecture. A lot of times I think it's just kind of trying to really understand the concepts for me, because like factual memorization is, easy enough. And usually as you go through the class, you'll kind of memorize definitions and stuff as you learn about the concepts. So I would say like study-wise, I know like last semester I was in Physics 1, Biochemistry. I had to take a genetics lab, and then I had to take the labs for physics, and then a neuroscience class. And I probably studied like maybe like 30 hours a week for those, especially when exam like midterms and stuff came around. So it's just, long nights in the library sometimes. I think a way to kind of make that like more fun and kind of balance it is just to have a study group. Like I have, my friends that when we all get together and we study, and it's almost fun, actually. It sounds so weird, but it really is. So I think kind of trying to get into a groove and just like really forcing yourself to actually do it is really important.
I think your assessment might be a little wrong. I would say I'm probably more a sporadic kind of studier, but I would say the Kaltura videos, rewatching the lecture kind of on 2 times speed would probably be the thing that I mostly do. Kind of hearing again, it's that repetition, seeing it again for me. But I'll use all of those techniques to kind of be successful.
Right, and I did want to answer a question that came in through the chat, and it said, who's the chemistry academic advisor I can talk to set up a chem neuro path, classes, major, minor, etc. So how I would answer that is I'd say, talk to your advisor during orientation. Whoever, if it's a neuroscience advisor, talk to her, let her know your path, and she'll help you set that up. It's not something you need to do from the get-go. A part of your orientation will be to meet with your advisor and schedule your classes. So once you do sit down with her and let them know what your plans are, they will put all those plans in motion for you and let you know who you need to speak with. Now we did also have something in the chat from Jacob. Did either of you guys have AP or other types of transfer credit coming into college? And if so, how did you make that work into your schedule? Did it make things easier?
Yeah, for me personally, I took AP Psych, and I took DC Comp, so the composition class. And I tried to take AP Calc, but as you guys know, I didn't quite slide that one through. But for my AP Psych, I was able to actually waive, I think, 2 psychology classes. I mean, I haven't taken a psychology class in, it seems like forever. So it did make it easier, just because like that's 2 less credits first of all, I have to pay for, and second of all, that I have to take, which is really, really nice, kind of, especially since like I already did it. I don't want to have to do it all over again. So yeah, for the AP Psychology, I was able just to transfer that over. And the same thing goes for the composition class as well, that I transferred over from taking in high school. I will say, however, I had the opportunity to transfer over my AP Chemistry one. I didn't actually. I chose to take chemistry just kind of starting out, just because I know that a lot of chemistry is on my MCAT. I had already known I wanted to go pre-med before I started anything. And I just really wanted to make sure I had a good understanding of chemistry, even though I already had the AP class. So you can kind of like maybe like make strategic decisions with your AP classes. If you know, like maybe you want to do a little bit more with one, like you need some more help with it.
With having like the triple major, I would not have been able to do that unless I had as much dual credit as what I did. But to more of what Caroline was saying, the things that you really should retake if you're kind of going into pre-med or some pre-health profession or anything like that is kind of get those foundations set. We're not all on the same thing, kind of playing field wise. And I think those do a good job of like kind of grounding you and getting you ready for college and what it's like. And it's going to help build, if you've already kind of had a good majority of it, it's going to help you kind of solidify that. But like say it's like you got the dual credit for a literature class. Yeah, I might like to minor in literature, maybe, I don't know, but that might be the course I would take and just be like, hey, I have this dual credit. It counts as my arts and humanities credit, something like that. Or it can like help you get another minor or something.
Now, Angel asked, how long did it take to get credits transferred? So Angel, I'll answer that real quick. If you submit those transcripts with your application, or you can send them to mycredit@iupui.edu, they'll be, and you'll want to do that, they'll be transferred immediately so that your advisor can see them when you are registering. If you are taking AP classes now, obviously you can't send that over quite yet, but as soon as you do get those scores, you'll want to make sure that those are sent to IUPUI as well. For that. One of the most important things when you do go to register that will help, and we did talk about this, but for orientation is you're going to have to take some placement exams, a math, a chemistry, and possibly even a foreign language if you're taking that. Make sure you take those really as soon as possible at the end of the year, so everything's still fresh in your mind, but also before your orientation date, because your advisor will need that information to help you schedule your classes. That's really, really important. And I see Jared is coming on, so I think he's gonna tell us a little bit more about that.
So in terms of the placement exams, a couple of things I want to mention with regard to those. Number one, in order for the chemistry placement exam to come into play, you have to have taken a full year high school chemistry course. Then you would take the chemistry placement exam to see if you place into Chem C 105. If you haven't had a high school chemistry course, you actually don't need to take the placement exam. So your advisor can help advise you on those things. Mathematics wise, if you've had the level of mathematics you needed, like say you took calculus BC, or you took a dual credit calc class that's a higher level calc class, it might work. So those conversations with an advisor pretty early on are a good idea. And in terms of the language, in terms of the exams, I also want to go over some basic, because sometimes students don't take them seriously. The chemistry exam is a one-shot exam. The language exam is a one-shot exam. So for those two exams, you want to make sure that you're ready to go, you're prepared. Don't take it on a phone. This is the most common, the biggest advice I can give you. The number of students that say, well, I was taking it on my phone and I didn't have anything with me and I was just kind of guessing on some stuff. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Get access to a computer, use a computer at the library. You want to take it on a larger screen. You want to, have a calculator available to you. But yeah, take it seriously. The math exam is a little different. You can have up to 5 tries on the math placement exam. So with math, I typically tell a student who needs to take it, just go ahead and take it once. And then the gaps where you can do some additional work, that exam is designed to help you score higher based on where you're projected to score. So math is, once again, math is very different from world language and chemistry. World language and chemistry is one shot. Math is where you have the opportunity to take the exam more than once.
Thank you. And as we said, that orientation registration will open up for admitted students on March 29th. So look out for that. Sometimes I'll even hint it'll open a couple days early. So you may want to, get in there and get registered as soon as you can, just so that you do have the largest selection of classes. And you can get that if you want that early lab time, you can get it. If you want that late lab time, you can get it. That's really the most important things for science students. I did want to, we do need to, oh wait, here's one question. When can you take the placement exam, sign up for it? So that will be a part of your orientation. So when you do go through the orientation, it'll actually tell you what exams you need to take, and it'll tell you how to do that. So anybody who has any questions about orientation, it's orientation.iupui.edu. And that's where you'll sign up for it once it opens on March 29th. And it'll give you everything from the modules you do online to meeting with your advisors. All that information will be on there. And I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. So I did want to end with one last question, because we did talk about all the things we do as far as academics and research and such. But I want to talk about a little bit about the other organizations that you're part of that are fun. Because I know, like Caroline, you're involved in student council, you're involved in regatta. And maybe we can talk a little bit about those, just so students know that there are other things out there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm one of those people where it's like, if I'm not busy 24/7, I don't know what to do with myself. So I have a bunch of clubs I like to be in. So regatta, if you guys are from Indianapolis area, you probably know it's where we race canoes in our canal. So I know someone said they were coming from not out of state, I think. So if you happen, we're gonna have a regatta this year. It's gonna be really fun. It's in September, and we just throw a bunch of canoes and a bunch of students in the canal, and we race, and it's like so much fun. So I'm on the committee for just kind of making that happen. And like I said, that has absolutely nothing to do with neuroscience at all. It's just something I think is really fun. And then I'm on the School of Science Student Council, which is also just a really good way to kind of get involved with your professors and your fellow science students. I do a lot of mentoring. So I think Lucas had mentioned the BLC, the Biology Resource Center. I mentor for biology. So if you guys are ever feeling like you want to be a part of that, that's really easy to get into as well. And if you guys happen to be pre-med, it also helps you really retain the knowledge that you need for the biology portion of the MCAT, which is a super good advantage. And there's lots of other mentoring, for the orientation that you guys are doing, O-Team, we have a lot of options too for people who want to mentor for O-Team. There's also mentoring for the Honors College, just all sorts of stuff that you guys can get involved in and just kind of make friends. Honestly, it's a really good way to meet people.
So I've been involved in a lot of things over kind of my college career. I've stopped doing some of them. I've started doing others. So get your feet wet kind of is what I want to say. I know one of the things was try something that's just for fun. Try something that is related to your major and or professional goals. If you're able to do more than that, do a little bit more. When I started out as a freshman, I was involved in a organization that helped advocate for bone marrow transplants or bone marrow donation. We've got people on the bone marrow registry. I've done the Neuroscience Club all 4 years. I've done peer health education, which is something with the Office of Health and Wellness Promotion, where we kind of help teach other students and kind of help give out free stuff from the office and do all this kind of wellness education things. I've also done, but just try something that interests you. And there's a bunch of different things all over campus. It doesn't have to be related to what you're doing.
All right, there's over 500 clubs here on campus, and if we don't have it, you can you can start it. All you need is a faculty sponsor and I was at 3 students, and you can start it on your own and get it going. So we do encourage you to look into that, but chances are it's already here. We even have things like a napping club. So there is definitely something for everybody. All right, I did want to thank everybody for coming today. Dr. Blecky Adams and Jared, thank you very much. And Lucas and Caroline, thank you so much for sharing your stories. And most of all, I want to thank all of you for tuning in today and learning more about neuroscience, and just encourage you to come visit us on campus. At science.iupui.edu/visit are all of our options, or email me if you have any questions, or if you want to do a private Zoom visit, I am available to you. All right, so I hope everyone has a great day.